Our research shows that your thoughts could make you sick. Then the question is, if your thoughts could make you sick, can your thoughts make you well? And we're actually discovering that that's absolutely possible. If you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone, by thinking about your problems, and that's the truth, you can become addicted to your own thoughts. And if the long-term effects of the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons that create disease, so then teaching people then a little bit about how to manage their emotional state and to self-regulate, I think is a great gift for people, because when they begin to break an addiction to any emotion or the conditioning of any emotion, there's going to be cravings that go on just like any addict there, and so when they start changing and the body's craving those familiar emotions, the body starts signaling the brain, of memories, or to think certain ways and to make certain choices, do certain things, crave certain experiences just to feel that same emotion. And people say, well, this feels right. No, that feels familiar. That really feels familiar. And many people will tell the story of why they feel that way based on some past experience. And it's usually not in the recent past, it's usually many years ago. It's so much more important, though, to romance your future instead of romance your past. And I think if people understood that they could actually arrive at it, I think many people have done this already in their life. I think everybody, at least once in their life, has done something great. And when they did something great, they just made up their mind. And they made a decision in that moment to do something or to change with such firm intention that the amplitude of energy in making that choice caused their body to respond to their mind. That the choice that they were making to change became a moment in time that they would never forget. And the stronger the emotion they felt in order to change, the more they remembered the choice. And we could say then that they're giving their body a taste of the future emotionally, and they're literally aligning to that destiny. We discovered that if you keep doing that every day, somehow you'll arrive at that destiny, and your biology will literally begin to change to look like you're living in a different life. I think if we define a habit as a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that's acquired through repetition. A habit is when you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your conscious mind. Then it's programmed subconsciously. So then when the body knows how to do it better than the conscious mind, then for the most part, the greatest habit we have to break is the habit of being ourselves, right? So there's a principle in neuroscience that says that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you keep thinking the same way, if you keep making the same choices, if you keep doing the same things, if you keep reproducing the same experiences and feeling the same emotions, your biology begins to become hardwired in a sense. It becomes programmed. So in order to change something, to arrive at a new vision of your future, if you wanted to arrive at a new goal or a new vision of your future, you'd have to change something about yourself in order to get there. And you'd have to change the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. When you begin to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts, so conscious that you don't let them slip by your awareness unnoticed or unchecked by you. If you catch yourself speaking in a limited way, or you become conscious that you're behaving in a certain way, in a habit, and you can notice or pay attention to how you're feeling, then you're no longer the program. Now you're consciousness observing the program. You're only unconscious when you're in the program. And so to change then is to become so conscious that you don't go unconscious again. And in a sense, that is consciousness that is really the puppet master that really decides who we want to be. I think the biggest problem is that people lose their free will to a set of programs. And so their body is basically programmed into a predictable future based on what they've done in the past. So to change that habituation takes an enormous amount of energy, an enormous amount of awareness. When we look closely at certain habits, whether you can ride a bicycle, whether you can speak a language, whether you can snowboard, when you first learn any of those things, it takes an enormous amount of conscious awareness to get your body to do what your mind is intending. But if you keep doing it over and over again, then the body begins to economize it in some way. And so we have a lot of things that we can do automatically or unconsciously or subconsciously that allows us to multitask, to drive your car, to talk on the phone, to do several different things at the same time. So a habit isn't a bad thing. They can work for you or they can work against you. The problem is if you're, as an example, complaining and blaming and making excuses and feeling sorry for yourself and judging other people, and you practice that and you get really good at whatever you practice that enough times that you're unconscious to the fact that you're doing it. The moment you become conscious that you want to change that, you're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to feel some degree of uncertainty. You're leaving kind of familiar known territory and you're stepping into the unknown. And so many people, when they want to change a habit, they have to be willing to be uncomfortable to do it. But habits can work for us. There's a lot of great habits that you and I both have that I would never want to change or would want to evolve in some way. But then there's a lot of habits that don't serve us. And so a person really wants to set a vision of the future, whatever that is, and they just have to agree that in order to arrive at that vision, they have to change in order to get there. If you look at a lot of the work that we're studying in terms of human change and human transformation, we've seen people with really difficult pasts, really brutal pasts that were abused and traumatized at a very early age, and then repeated traumas that took place in people's lives. And they had night terrors, and they couldn't be in relationships. They had social anxiety. They had a lot of health conditions. We've seen them completely change to be happy people again, to free themselves from the past. And so I would never put a limitation on change because I just don't think you can really predict that. I think many people that are learning how to change and they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it and how it gets easier, I think for the most part people can change all kinds of things. And when they do change, our research shows that their brain changes, heart rate changes, their gene expression changes, there's thousands of metabolites that are being released into their bloodstream that weren't there prior. There's a host of different changes that take place biologically that kind of support the person's transformation.